Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream scene. We got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about moderators and content creators, and the roles for each, and basically everything you want to know about moderation. It's going to be a really great episode. I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, Hunter Wild. How you doing, Hunter?
I'm doing pretty well. Full of coffee, vim, vinegar, ready to rock on a subject that's super important to me, and I think probably literally every person in the room. We've got two incredible guests today. I feel like I get to do this every show now. Is like we have top of the line products here for you today. Moblord and LuckyMisfit. Moblord, what are you all about?
Greetings. So there's a couple of ex-admins in here, so obviously you can't trust anything that we have to say. But I'm Moblord. I have done articles, I've done education, I've done management, and what's more important to this show is I've done a considerable amount of channel moderation, event moderation, and Twitch moderation. I used to be involved. I used to be lead mod on the main Twitch channel, actually. And that was an interesting experience. Lucky was with me on that, so we can talk about that too. Love moderation. That's where I started. That's where my roots are. And now I'm going to throw it over to Lucky, who's been kind of a right-hand person for me through several projects. She's helped me. She was one of the people to help me with the gender study that we did. She was with me for a lot of stuff that we did on the admin team, and she's just an all-around great mod. Lucky, tell us more about you.
Hello, I am LuckyMisfit. I don't have a cam because I'm awesome. Hi, I've been a mod for a lot of people. Ex-admin, community manager. Modded alongside Mob on a ton of different channels, both with Twitch and I think a few non-Twitch, probably at some point.
I'm sure there's overlap somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been on every or some form of moderation or community manager panel at all three of the last Twitch cons. So that's kind of cool. I like helping people. I also like telling people to behave. So
it's a good fit.
Basically, sometimes it can feel like a babysitter, I feel like, being a moderator. But it's going to be a really interesting episode because we've got, streamers who obviously have mod teams, me and Hunter, and then you have the moderators themselves. So it's going to be really cool to see like both perspectives and try to give you guys insight. Now, if you guys have any questions, we're going to ask that you save them to the end of the show. We'll reserve the last 15 minutes of our show-ish for any questions that you guys have. So we'll start with the basics and then get into some, pretty interesting and very relatable discussions, with the times recently. So we'll start with the basics. What makes a moderator? Like, how do you become a mod? Like, where do you start?
Well, I'm sure Lucky has a different opinion than I do too, but the place that I started was I just wanted to be more involved with the channels that I really cared about. And obviously there's lots of different ways that you can do that, but especially if you don't have a lot of money, but you do have time, being available in a channel to help answer questions, to give people resources, to, that's kind of the helping sort of attitude that generally starts it. And then once you are modded, you become either more or less of a right-hand person for the streamer. You're at the very basic level, you're just timing out things that shouldn't be said. But I think something that we're going to talk about today is that there's kind of levels to the moderation game. And there's levels that we have observed now in the last few years as moderation has kind of evolved. I think it's become something even more complex than it was back when I first became a mod. And I'm really excited to talk about some of those more advanced things. But at the very bottom basic level, the main thing about being a mod is just being there. I think if you were to ask a streamer, why did you mod someone, they would say, well, they were always there. It's like 80% of it's just showing up, right? And then, they were helpful, they were friendly, they were professional, and they weren't the kind of person that were always just jumping into arguments, flaming other people. They would have a generally level head about them, is some of the traits that I'm sure that streamers looked for originally, before knowing that they had maybe a business background or anything else.
Yeah.
Lucky, what would you say about that?
I'd agree. For me, kind of how I got my start was exactly that, just showing up. I was there for every single stream in the first stream that I was modded in. I knew how the person liked things run. I knew what they wanted to see, what they didn't want to see, that sort of thing. It's really important, though, if you are a mod, to have that thick skin. I know everybody says, well, you gotta have thick skin. No, really have thick skin, especially if you're moderating larger streams, because you're going to have those people that come in that might be used to one way that chat can go, and then if they come into a different stream, they start using that same behavior from the other chat. They come into yours if you run.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Like, the moderators take a lot of heat because, and that's like kind of the purpose, right? Is it doesn't reflect so hard on the streamer if someone gets timed out, right? It's like, now it's like between the moderators and that viewer. But the downside is the mods will get attacked, and there's obviously like nasty people, and it's really important as a mod to keep your cool and not be like just like take the sword and think you have like all this power, you can do what you want, and get too power hungry. So yeah, I mean, having thick skin is definitely really important, and just not being like obsessed with the power and using it responsibly.
To lord over people.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things that you want to avoid. You're talking about things that you want to look for. Something that you want to avoid is someone who wants to be a moderator a little bit too much.
Right.
The kind of person who asks to be mod, and this goes for all platforms, right? And I'm sure everybody has a similar thing that they say, but the kind of person who asks for mod is not the kind of person who should be mod.
That's like rule number one.
Rule number one.
It's literally rule number one. Don't ask to be mod.
Don't ask to be mod. If you're mod level quality, you will be recognized as that fairly early on. The mods keep track. They know who's the, if a streamer asks their group of mods, hey, who's somebody that you think has been showing up a lot lately who would be a good candidate for a mod? If you've been a good chat citizen, you will have your name brought up. Trust me, you don't have to ask for the mod. You just kind of are seen as a mod by your interactions. So don't even bother asking. If there's an application form, great, that's one thing. But generally speaking, mods don't even come from application forms. They come from how things are progressing in chat. So
yeah, I mean, I've actually had experience doing both, where I've had I'll look for people in chat, but sometimes like it can be really hard to gauge like who wants to take that extra step. So I have actually opened moderator applications in the past, but obviously like I always get like some random names that enter, but it's always going to be the people that you recognize and then they applied. Like it's kind of like the second step there. Hunter, have you done anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, HB Fox handles he's my broadcast manager. He's 50% of the stream, and he's the 50% of the stream that's not on camera. He handles all of that stuff himself. He's opened up moderator applications twice, and Toby, you've missed them both times. And sometimes we get some really interesting responses. Like I'm not going over them, but I hear the reports after the fact. Sometimes we get the most bizarre, innocuous, but bizarre responses to them. You can still tell who it was, and you almost want to like take it seriously because you're like, well, I mean, they applied themselves and they've been there for like 3 years. But yeah, there are people who stand out above everybody else, and I think for the things that stand out for me, there's a diplomatic element there, right? We have a lot of our mods love to have lighthearted trolling in the channel. We've got that kind of culture where it's jovial but sassy. At the same time, that cannot be the overarching quality. That cannot be like the dominant aspect, there has to be this diplomatic element. You can usually read that really quickly. Somebody who can change their tone and change their subject really quickly into something that helps, as we were talking about before, mentioned people who come into the stream used to a different type of, I think you were talking about this, used to a different type of culture in another stream, a normally sassy, back talking, jovial and joking mod can suddenly become really serious and be like, hey, just make sure that, you familiarize yourself with the rules. They have to be able to have that adaptability to the situation. And that comes from both, I think we're looking at the applications, but more from seeing them in the chat, because the other mods who are the ones who are really going to be deciding a lot of this, who's going to be coming in, get to note that they've seen them day after day and how their behavior is and what their approaches are beyond what they can write. Because sometimes you could be a trash bag and write a really good, write a really good resume somehow. So I think it's a balance of those two things.
Something that I was going to bring up is that mods are kind of responsible for helping shape the culture of a channel. And by shaping the chat or shaping the culture of a channel, that could be a number of things. I mean, obviously there's the obvious one where you're timing someone out, but there's also what types of things, because normal users in the chat, non-modded, will look up to the people who are modded as the example of what type of environment of chat activity they should be emulating themselves. So if the mods are all super trolly and insulting the streamer and just saying, just goofing off, being jackasses, people will emulate that behavior of the mods. It won't take very long at all before they're emulating it. And so, number one, you're an example. Number two, oftentimes what you have to think about is de-escalation techniques. Now, this kind of goes more into the psychology side of things, perhaps, but when you're dealing with people, like if you've ever taken management training or whatever else, you often have people who are upset, and you need to be able to make sure that they feel like they've been heard, or that their concerns are being addressed, or that you're not just there to have a fight with them. You already have the power, you already have the sword, you can time someone out whenever you need to when things get to that level. But sometimes someone is just, they're having a bad day, they're frustrated, they've come into the chat, they've said a couple things which people could have taken somewhat negatively. You could either just time them out and they would go spew that somewhere else, or if they've been a regular viewer, you could pull them aside, you could start a whisper chain with them, you could address it in chat if you need to. But learning how to de-escalate problems before they become overall problems is sometimes much stronger than just a simple timeout or ban.
I completely agree.
I mean, it's like a really interesting topic too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, kind of to go along those lines, as a mod, you also know how to tell someone you're sorry when you're wrong. Like, I actually had this experience recently where, like, someone came into the channel and said, "What is this game?" And I thought that they were asking, "What is this game?" So I told them the name of the game. And then they asked again, they're like, "No, I'm saying, like, what is this game? Like, what's it about?" kind of thing. And as kind of like a joking reply, because that was the nature of the channel, I just said the name of the game again. And then about 5 minutes went by and I got a really angry whisper saying, if you're going to troll new viewers like this, that's inappropriate and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, on one hand, I understand that maybe they don't understand that this channel is a very sarcastic place and, we like to have fun in that sort of way. On the other hand, I don't want to have someone leave, like, pissed off. So I had to take it upon myself to say, I'm sorry, this is, the norm here. We kind of troll each other. It's a really great place. I'm sorry if you took that the wrong way. That sort of thing.
I mean, it's like that subject's like super interesting because, the de-escalation of situations is really important to like the vibe of the chat too. Like, if you're just like, if there's like an argument that's happening between two people or like, then like it kind of like starts to snowball and then other people are getting into it. And that's like a really awkward situation because you can't just like start whispering 7 people or timing out everybody. So like, one strategy that we have is like, sometimes the mods will run a giveaway, or they'll start what we have is called like a please war. We have like this please emote that everyone in chat likes to spam. So
That's
the
cool.
whispers are well, it gets very spammy, but the whispers are definitely like a really cool tool that the mods, like if you're a moderator, you should have your whispers open. Like, yeah, you're gonna get some crap like that, you don't want to like see, but for the most part, like, you need to be open to that communication, and you need to be able to as chat starts to spam please in the chat. I knew that was gonna happen, but I had to give an example. But yeah, so there's the whisper side, and then there's the, just like some kind of like changing the vibe of chat, like try to change the subject, don't let the mood of chat completely shift because of just like a couple people, that start to get into something.
I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and definitely give people the chance. Like, I mean, run your channel the way that you want to run it. But like, if you see two people going back and forth, tag them both in one post. Say, hey, if you guys want to keep talking about that, that's cool. But take it to whispers. You're bringing down the vibe of the chat.
Yeah. So I'm working through 10 different things to try and formulate this into one. So moderators have to manage a lot of stuff, right? In the de-escalation, in the establishment and continuation of a certain type of culture and certain types of behaviors, while making sure sometimes it's a matter of writing a line. You're not. It can be challenging for many viewers, especially through text, to see to know whether or not a mod who's lightly trolling somebody, or myself in the case of in my own stream, the broadcaster, it can be challenging for somebody to know how many steps beyond that they're able to take. So managing a lot of stuff like that. At the same time, I feel like, and this is certainly true for me. I'm not sure how many people this may be true for. My mods sometimes have to manage me as well, because I'm human and I'm emotional, and sometimes I'll see something happening in chat and I'll take it the wrong way, or I'll take it the right way, but my emotions become heightened, and then I'll start going off on a subject that's not good for the channel, and I can't recognize that in the moment sometimes. And so having moderators who are at the same time looking in the same direction for the goals for the channel also need to kind of bounce that back to the broadcaster. Have you guys have you dealt with that before, having to manage a broadcaster?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Lucky, you can go first.
In one channel, we actually had a line command where I would just draw a line in chat and say, this line, don't cross it. Stop it. Don't go there. And it's interesting to see, like, I'm going to call him out because I love him and he's my boy. But Elo can go off on tangents.
Yes, he
where
can.
I'm just sitting there going, stop it. And then I just sit there and I have to laugh because he is his own human and he knows what he's doing. But it just turns chat into this horrible place for a minute. And I just have to go, okay, I'm just going to step back and I'm going to let him do his thing. I'm going to let him troll this chat. And then I kind of go, okay, you guys stop it. Okay, no, stop it. So.
I mean, there's a joke, and I don't know if anybody actually has one of these, but there's a joke that sometimes head moderators need a kill switch button for the channel. Like, they just need to turn off the video somehow.
Oh God.
There's a reason.
Go ahead, sorry.
You've done that?
There was one topic that Elo kept going on about that was like borderline, like, dude, this might be against TOS, but you're doing it in a very respectful way. So, but I have control of his alerts. So I actually added an alert that was just a guy saying, stop, it's time to stop.
Really?
And I just triggered
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, I was like, dude.
I'm writing that down.
The reason that I say that was because it was after a string, I'm not going to say the name of the broadcaster, it was after a string of drunk streams that had gone maybe a little bit too far. In one instance, the streamer had actually literally hit the floor. And so as a channel mod, you're like, I don't want this person to get banned, and I don't want people to see the side of the person even necessarily. Like, where's my kill switch? They don't know that they've gone too far, but the mods all know that we have gone too far, and maybe they're not even listening to us anymore. That's pretty rare, I have to say, but there have been times where we've wanted to go that far to actually have the power to kill a stream. As far as I know, I've never done that, but we've wanted it a few times.
That actually like kind of steamrolls into like the next big topic, which is like, what are the roles of a mod? So we've, started to get into that, especially with like the chat. It's not just about banning people, it's about setting the tone, setting the mood, and facilitating, the community. But what about behind the scenes? Like what are some roles that you guys have had to do behind the scenes for your streamers?
And as a follow-up, what are some of the various roles that moderators can play other than the obvious ones and some of the ones we've talked about already?
I actually wrote an article about this, and I think we brought it up in the I think we brought it up in our TwitchCon panel as well.
This is where I'm bringing it from.
Yeah. So
is mother an option? Because
yeah, I think reasonably, sort of.
Yeah. Mother is all of the options. It's one of each.
all under one umbrella, yeah.
So it's hard to even know where to start, and every channel has its own culture. So what I'm going to say doesn't apply to everybody, and I'll just preface it with that. But you kind of have your tiers. You've got just the person who's got a band hammer, like that's all they have. They don't even really talk. They just kind of nuke from above. They just
nuke from orbit.
Yeah, they're just the nuke from orbit guy. They see it before anybody else sees it. They've got you covered, and it's gone. Right? There's just that guy, and that they don't talk much, but they ban a considerable amount. And then you've got your door greeter, right? You've got your Walmart door greeter, who everybody who comes in, that person is being friendly to them, introducing them to the channel. They're the first ones that answer the questions, and I think those people are super important, actually, because that creates this welcoming environment.
Absolutely.
And then you've got your AV nerd. You got your video tech who does a lot of your highlights, and they get your clips, and they get your clips organized, and maybe they make your highlight videos for you, but they don't really do a lot of like normal moderation tasks.
Where can I find one of those?
Those are actually highly sought after and are probably worth money. Like you might actually pay that person money because they're making alternate content that you could put up on YouTube, and we can talk more about who you should pay and that kind of stuff later. And then you've got your kind of like your community manager type of person, and maybe that's the mother one. The community manager just is you would know what a community manager. You have one, Hunter, but it's the person who's kind of overseeing the details. Maybe they're contacting companies on your behalf. Maybe they're contacting sponsors on your behalf. Maybe they're organizing schedules. Maybe they're organizing co-streams between you and another channel. Maybe they're actually the ones who are setting up, they're approving mods to come into your channel. They're training the mods that you have. They're setting up the moderation tools that you have. Community manager position is something that you're starting to see on larger channels. So that's another one I've seen.
Definitely starting to see that more often, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got your head tech guy who's just like your bot person. Like maybe you've created custom alerts, custom bot. You've got maybe your own even extension, maybe if you've gotten really fancy, but you've got your head tech guy. They're probably not in the channel all the time, and they're a mod, but they don't really use their mod powers or usually or whatever. But yeah, you've got there's levels to this game. I'm not saying that one of them is more important than another one, because you kind of need all of your bases covered. Because I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware of this, but as a broadcaster, you're kind of like a one-person production team, right? I mean, if you talk about a normal TV show, you've got your producer, you've got your video techs
before HP Fox, yes.
Yeah, so you've got to fill all of these roles and do all of these things, and the more people that you can just sit in front of a role and say, here, you're responsible for this, the more times that you can do that, the more you can focus on what you're good at, which is the entertainment side of things.
Yeah.
So that's the evolution that I was mentioning earlier about mods. Mods now are not just door greeters and banners. They're doing other things for channels, and I think it's great. I think the team element is a great one. I think that a mod chat is a great thing that happens now on pretty much all channels.
Yeah.
I don't know of hardly any channels that don't have a Discord mod chat anymore, which used to be somewhat fairly rare or done in Skype and not everybody would show up. But now Discord, people are keeping in tune with their mods a lot more than they ever have before, as far as I'm aware. So
modding is so much more of a nuanced thing, you're saying, now than it was before, yeah?
I would say that as Twitch has increased and as the size of the channel has increased and as the production quality level is expected to be going up on channels, and as channels are trying to stay competitive with each other, the mods have had to step up their game too.
Yeah.
And, there's also, probably 3 to 4 mods for every broadcaster on Twitch. If you actually think about the size of the user base that we're talking about here, it's extensive of how many people are mods and not broadcasters out. We are the grease, right? Mods are the grease that keeps the cogs turning, so to speak, on Twitch, that you don't sometimes even notice unless things have gone wrong.
LuckyMisfit, were you trying to? I heard a little peep.
I said nothing. No. With the whole Discord, like the mod chat thing, it's also nice to have that so that you can clear up any misunderstandings that might be going on in chat privately.
Absolutely.
And kind of say, hey, I got to go get something to drink. Keep an eye on this guy. He's doing nothing but spamming failfish or something.
That emote drives me crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. You can see the mood drop on someone's face when failfish is in the chat. Either that or they go, what? I meant to do that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's nice because when you're working with, and I say working with because it is work, volunteer work, but like when you're working with this group of people, it's nice to have a place where you can all just kind of talk to each other outside of stream times. I just looked at chat.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah. But it's nice because then you kind of get to know these other people and you get to know kind of like their process and what they're into and how they're willing to help the stream. And then things sort of evolve naturally from there into those other roles that Mob mentioned. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't have a mod chat, what are you doing with your life? Go get one.
Spend the 5 minutes that it takes to do that and pin some messages up in there in Discord.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a place to like, hey, do you have the link to blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
And just share stuff.
Just for them to communicate about mod specific things. That's a lot of that is stuff that needs to be done outside of a traditional chat. And if you have more than 2 mods, needs to be done outside of whispers, because that way all of the mods can share in the mod culture for your channel and continue to develop that and build that. That's not something that happens naturally. We are, first time somebody starts bringing some mods in, everybody's an idiot. Nobody has any idea what they're doing. We're all just trying to, feel our way through it. But that's how you establish that, is through those key and core places, I think, where you can consistently communicate and it's just you guys and you feel like you have a crew there, and you build that up in a variety of ways. It's
right.
True.
Communication in general is extremely important between the mods and between the streamer and the mods.
Absolutely.
I think that, having regular mod meetings is really important. Not only for planning new projects or whatever you guys want to do, but also just checking in and making sure that everyone's kind of on the same page. I don't have mod meetings as frequently as I should, but sometimes it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, we're kind of confused about these rules and how to approach these. We need kind of a refresher. So having some mod meetings, especially if you're a larger channel and you have a larger mod team, is pretty important. And just regularly, talking to your mods is is crucial.
Just to reiterate how important mod chat is, and I agree with everything that everybody said so far, but if you're not communicating, you're not really building up that team aspect, and you really want to have that team culture, because there will be times when you are tried, when you have been featured on the front page and you're used to having 50 people in chat, suddenly you've got 1,500 people in chat, and figuring out what's going on the fly, being adaptable to the situation. You really need to have a solid teamwork in place, and you also kind of need to have, I'll see what you guys think about this, a hierarchy. Generally speaking, you will have one mod who's maybe above the other mods. Now, you might not call them a community manager. Maybe they're just the first mod and they just have seniority.
Seniority, sure, yeah.
But generally speaking, there's like the guy, and then there's the assistants to the guy. And I'll see what you guys think about that. Maybe you think everybody should be at the same level. I don't know. I think it works better when you have a head mod who's more responsible for what happens than everybody else. But I'll see what you guys think about that.
I'm not sure if that's true universally. I've certainly seen enough like outside my normal box of how to do things to say like there's probably situations in streams where it works brilliantly in the other direction. I know for me, for a fact, and for a lot of my friends, seniority, I think really kind of nails it. Have somebody to whom everybody else can defer on certain subjects. While I'm in the middle of a stream, because I do a lot of 8 to 12 hours, I don't have the opportunity to take a break and explain all the the nuanced aspects of some situation that we've come into. If there's another mod, even if they don't know exactly what I need, we've been together for a long time. They know my general attitudes. They know the approach of the stream. They know the approach of the mods in general, and they can guide in a moment of crisis. They can guide somebody. They can guide the other mods in that direction. It makes it really easy for me having HB Fox as a total broadcast manager, and he's also been the mod manager for that entire time as well for two years now. So he's easily the one there. But I think a matter of seniority. And initially, that was what we had, somebody that everybody else kind of looked up to and was like, really tell me what should be done here, because I can't ask Hunter. He's in the middle of doing the thing.
What do you think, Loco?
So I have had at one point I did have like a lead mod that kind of like was like the go-to person. And then, lately it's kind of just organically become kind of like a round table with my mods where, we have most of the mods have been there for a while. They're very experienced. And then when we add new mods, they join the table and they see how everyone else is doing. And they kind of can talk to almost everyone else, because by that point, they've all gotten on the same page too. You usually do, in a channel, you usually do have that one person that steps up, like just as a natural thing. You're going to have like one or two people that just want to help more and kind of click better. But I don't think you have to like, be like, point to someone and be like, okay, you are the head mod. Your head is on the line if like things go down or something. It really is like depending on the people that you have and how they work together.
Yeah, and having that off-stream communication between the broadcaster and the mod team kind of helps set up the expectations, because that's generally where things go wrong, where the mods have a different idea of how things should be going than the broadcaster does. They're either too strict or too lenient, so having some sort of off-channel communication is really, really important. Have you seen anybody using the rooms feature for mod chat, by the way? I mean,
I haven't
obviously
for mod chat yet.
That is such a. I have.
Tell us how you
strong
feel. Look, tell us.
It was too little, too late. Nobody was using the group chat thing on Twitch, so I don't know why they added this when they know for a fact that. Well, I should hope that they know that everybody uses either Discord or the Twitch app, or Elo still uses Skype, or
what? You let him?
We've tried. We
She
have
can only do so much, Mom.
Yeah, we've tried.
Old habits die hard.
But like my main issue with the room thing, where they're like, "Oh, you could use it for moderators." Okay, if moderators go into that separate room that's just for mods, who's watching the chat?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let me just switch over, and someone could come in and spam some horrible thing while I'm looking away for 2 seconds, as it always goes. Like, if they had like a nice little pop-out system where it came like kind of as a separate window, sort of how they did the whispers, I could understand that a little bit more, but it was a nice thought.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is it doesn't integrate with the desktop app either.
Oh, it doesn't?
Oh,
The
really?
Twitch desktop app, yeah. So it's
Are these two separate teams working on that? I would not have ever expected that. I assume that'll change in time.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would hope that you would have at least as much functionality on the desktop app. But
yeah,
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me to like. Gumdrops just said you can pop out any rooms of a channel. I didn't know that. At the same time, I already have my Discord up, so why would I have yet another window?
Yeah. How many? That's the thing about Discord is it's all kind of self-contained, right? And it's its separate thing, and you're going to be, the mods are presumably going to be moderating Discord as well. You don't have to, it's not quite as active, presumably, but
there's actually a lot of tools out there. I don't know how deep we want to get into this, but there are applications that you can plug into Discord that'll show you ban logs, that'll show you logs about who's subscribed to the channel. You can log donations if you wanted to a channel. You can have VOD comments come over to some, like you can use it to be sort of a collecting spot of all kinds of different information. That's probably a little more technical than we necessarily need to get into, but
don't they have it so you can bring in Nightbot now to moderate?
It has a version of Nightbot that can moderate Discord, yeah.
Like to pull out like the really bad stuff.
Can you direct us to this? Because I've never heard of this before, and I would love to show that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious. And while we're on the subject, I'd like to talk, like, just if you want to mention some tools that you guys use, to facilitate the moderator role.
Sure. And I want to state that this is just the tools that are available at this point in time. Like there might be tools that come out tomorrow that invalidate everything that I'm about to say. So this gets stale.
Fast changing.
This gets stale fast, and I'd rather focus the majority of our time today about the mindset of moderation, rather than the specific technical tools, because the tools will change. You will need to adapt. So prefacing that, I think that the tool that I use and that I think the most people that I know of use is a FrankerZ plugin. One of the things that I used to really love about that, and BTTV is another tool that's commonly used, is it would highlight certain words for me as a mod to look out for. That's not something that's come back to FrankerZ, I don't think, since the site redesign. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. But there's a lot of other really cool features. You can customize timeout like templates. So like if you have a set list of rules for a channel, you can build a template list of ban reasons and ban lengths or ban actions that line up to those rules for the channel. And so you can click, a button saying that this is spam, this is a permanent ban, and give that reason back right there kind of as a quick action. It's something you used to be able to do anyways. Haven't looked for it recently. Also, it just gives you a lot more customizations. There was a scale that you could use to how long to time someone out. There was quick actions. There was keyboard shortcuts where you could just hit a single key to do a ban or a timeout or whatever. And also the ability to pause chat was super important. This is maybe more important for event moderators than it is for a normal channel moderator.
Where it's flying.
Where it's just scrolling like nobody's business. You need the ability to quickly pause that chat to apply that action accurately. And that's difficult to do in normal, just vanilla chat. You either need to be using something like Ventix tools Vintic is now a staff member at Twitch. He was previously an admin, and he had created a list of tools. 3v.fi, I think, is the website, and those tools are really useful. One of them was an event chat type thing where you could hit a shortcut on your keyboard, hit a control button, pause the chat, quickly apply the shortcut action, timeout, ban, and then you just release control or whatever, and the chat starts flying again. That's really super important because you miss stuff on the really fast chats. Another thing that I'd probably like to talk about real quick is bots. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this. People have their preferences. People often will use a Nightbot or MooBot as their first bot because it has the web interface that makes things really easy, and they have a lot of things kind of pre-configured, like, oh, you want a spam filter, you just click this, turn on the default spam filter. It's generally good enough to at least let you know what the majority of people use, right? Once you start to get a little bit more into it, advanced mods will use things like OBot and Zanbot and some other ones like that. And the reason that they use the more advanced ones is because they want to set up what they call regex type stuff. So regex is basically regular expression is what that's short for. You can put in patterns that look for specific patterns of text, and it's a lot harder to fool those kinds of things. Like if you have a ban word, let's just say boobs as the ban word, you can just add an extra zero, people might think, to skip being timed out for saying that word because it doesn't exactly match the MooBot or the Nightbot.
Interesting. So it looks for the patterning there.
So regex is you build patterns of words. So any number of O's could be added in the middle and it will still catch that.
Can't trick me.
Word. Can't trick me. So if you're a long-term event mod, you probably have a folder somewhere that has all of the different regex type words that you would ever want to use that you would load into your bot to match the requirements of that event moderation. So yes, we have now gone technical. I promise that's as technical as I need to go here. The bottom line is you would start with a Nightbot or a MooBot. You would move on to an OBot or something of that nature once you get into the faster moving chats, because when you're in event modding, it's a different game than the normal community modding. In event modding, 80% of your time is just really honing and customizing the bot. It's moving too fast for you to apply much manual actions.
Sure.
And it's moving, there's way too many people to try to establish a whisper communication with people or anything else. There is very little conversation happening. There is something that is moving at a speed of light that you need to be able to control and make positive again. And you do that with huge lists of words and filters and patterns known as regex. So that's the tools that I would probably bring up. What do you got, Lucky?
Something that I think is kind of underutilized, automod. Just setting it on level 1, and I mean, even if you have the raunchiest of chats, it usually doesn't catch that. Like, it's not going to catch. I'll keep it clean. It won't catch like the F words or anything like that, but like just the really bad like racial slurs or like sexist.
Yep.
Things that would get you banned, like for breaking the TOS, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that I absolutely love it for is if you put your blacklisted words in there, it doesn't even pop up through Automod. It's just automatically denied.
Yes.
So if you're someone who really, wants to keep their privacy, their personal information private, I'm really good at talking today. I would highly suggest adding in your last name.
If it's
street
unique.
name. Yeah, if it's unique.
Like if your last name is
Smith.
If it's literally Smith, you might run into problems playing RPGs.
Right.
But I mean, anything that like you don't want to see in the chat, even if it's just a word like iskabibble or something like that. If you never want to see that word in the chat,
banned word.
Yeah. Put it
Yeah,
on your
I got a
word
band.
list.
I use that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of using AutoMod, and anybody who knows my channel, we have mature subjects up and down, and there's all kinds of vulgarity and cursing, and AutoMod is still brilliant with it. It works really fluidly in channels, everything from PG to whatever absurd letter you'd put in mine.
Also,
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, I just
go
wanted to add like spoilers. Put in AutoMod, put in some keywords, and
Yes.
like you just it never pops up. It's I'm really glad that you mentioned AutoMod because not only is it just super easy to set up and it's right in your Twitch settings, but it's super super effective in basically countering trolls completely. Like,
Yeah.
the thing with like people getting timed out of band is, well, they still kind of got the gratification because they know that people can get around the message deleted thing with like extensions, and also there's a good chance that some people saw that. So with AutoMod, like those messages that get caught never get seen by the streamer. They never get seen by the viewers. Like that person is handled behind the scenes, and they don't get the slight victory of like getting a troll in chat. So it's really really helpful.
I totally agree, but I have to temper people's expectations with AutoMod sometimes, because there have actually been people who've said, well, I don't necessarily need mods for my channel because I have AutoMod. That's dangerous. I think you need
Right.
both. You need both elements. You need both AutoMod, and in my opinion, you need another bot on top of AutoMod too, because AutoMod
Sure.
doesn't do everything that you might need from a bot. It doesn't have repeating commands. It doesn't have those slash commands, that you can put an exclamation mark, whatever, and get back an answer. It's not meant to replace all bot functions. Its purpose is to give you a baseline of, here's at least the baseline level that I want in my chat. And I love the fact that they've made it more customizable now. You have a slider for each type of thing. For example, you can have, more lenient on the sexual side of things, but harder on the hate speech kind of things, for
Right.
example. And I would love to see even further development of that. And I know that they're developing it all the time. It's going to get smarter as more people use it, as more people use the allow block system. I hope mods are actually using the allow block, like not just letting it just go past. Like, it needs to learn from the interactions that it has from moderators. So hopefully moderators are actually giving it information to use.
Yeah, right. I'd
So
love to see
that's
some kind of
another point to make.
multi-dimensional side to that. Instead of a slider that goes left and right, having quadrants and being able to be a little more specific. And I was just this is my word of the day: nuanced, nuanced with it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, Jabberwocky brought up something. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
He brought up mods who sacrifice themselves to go find out the spoilers for an upcoming, like, say, a new Star Wars movie, and you come up with a list of words or terms or phrases, or you see it being spoiled on Reddit or 4chan or wherever, and you come back to the broadcaster, or maybe you set it up in the bot and the broadcaster doesn't even have to have it spoiled for them.
That's
I love it when
interesting.
mods do those kinds of selfless actions.
Yeah.
Sacrifice their enjoyment of Star Wars just to.
I've had both of those, all the new ones ruined because of Twitch chat.
Oh man.
Movies and games, it's hard to get through spoiler free sometimes. Like,
absolutely.
It's kind of like a fact of being on the internet in general, really. But I do want to talk about, we're gonna get into a Q&A probably around after the subject, but I do want to talk about like kind of like the I guess like the mental consideration of the mods, and how mods face things like burnout, or issues between the broadcaster and the mods, or issues between the mods themselves. I want to talk about this aspect of like, I guess, yeah, the mental aspect. I don't know, Mob, if you wanted to, because you came up with the idea, so I'll throw it to you first.
Sure. So, okay, so early on in the conversation, we talked about mods needing to have a thick skin. That is important because you will be tested, and if you display any weaknesses, the chat will attack you. there have been times where I've had to step away from chats because, there's only so many personal attacks perhaps that you can take before you've kind of had it for the day. But there's also been times where the streamer and the mod have had an outs. They've had a disagreement, and moderators do need to step away from that. If you become a distraction to a channel, and if you become the focus as a mod, that's a bad thing. The moderators themselves are not the focus of the stream. So either for better or for worse, there's been times where I've actually stepped away from channels because I felt like the focus was being too much on me and not on the broadcaster. My job as a moderator is to support the broadcaster, give them what they need, give them the support they need, give them extra pair of eyes in places they need. I might even be posting things to social media and listening back for responses on social media and chat, and just trying to be a source of everything. People are sending me Discord messages about, hey, such and such a thing is broken, or I haven't had my giveaway yet, or whatever else. I'm trying to be the eyes and the ears of the broadcaster, but I'm not trying to replace the broadcaster. But when burnout occurs, it's generally because you're not being thanked is often a big reason. You're not being appreciated or noticed. I mean, moderators have so many other things that they could be doing. It's free labor oftentimes, and we can talk about the times where it's not free labor, but
I'd love to.
It's free labor most of the time. They could be watching other content. Maybe they're not having as much fun as a moderator as they were as a viewer or a supporter of the channel. There's a saying, heavy wears the crown.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah.
Yes. Where the actual pressure of being a moderator is no longer an enjoyable part of their experience being with the channel. And I've seen where moderators avoid
Heavy are the
going.
arms that wield the sword.
Yes, I think that's a more updated phrase. Where moderators actually avoid going to the channels that they moderate for because they're just tired of like they've worked all day, they don't really want to work all night too, right? Another reason of burnout, and Lucky can probably talk about this too, is just you're not getting any feedback back from the broadcaster anymore. They're kind of taking you for granted. They are chewing out the mods frequently. Differences of opinion, differences of direction. Suddenly the channel wants to stop being a G-rated type of channel, family-friendly channel, and start doing more lewd nighttime channels. And the moderators that were cool with the channel being one type of way are not cool with the channel being another type of way. I've seen that happen.
It's true.
I've seen it where I've seen it situations where moderators believe themselves to be irreplaceable. And sometimes, it would be very hard to replace a mod. But when mods get such a big head, for lack of a better term, about their involvement level with the channel, it becomes a very dangerous thing, where mods think that they're more important to the channel than the actual broadcaster is, where they've developed all of the art and assets and bot and chat activity and everything else. And suddenly there's this conflict that exists because they forgot one of the most important things about being a mod is actually being somewhat selfless. Like, you're there to support someone else's dream and vision, not your own dream and vision about what, you're not trying to further your career by the number of swords that you have. Like, that's not your purpose of being there. Your purpose of being there is to support the broadcaster. And if you can no longer do that, it's your responsibility as a mod to actually demod yourself, because you have become a distraction rather than an asset for that broadcaster. And I believe that. And I have seen people who recognize that in themselves early enough to step away gracefully. But I've also seen a lot of situations where they cause an issue before they leave and maybe even splinter the audience while they're leaving, which is always a tragedy when it happens.
Have you seen that, LuckyMisfit? Have you like been in a channel, moderating a channel, or known a broadcaster or other moderators? I know you guys talk, where that kind of thing has like kind of imploded.
Where someone just their head got too big.
Yeah, and it started dragging the rest of the channel down or along with it.
I wouldn't say the channel. It would be more the mod team. Because it was all about me. Look what I'm doing. I'm, the most important person on this team. You guys are just peons, that sort of thing. I've definitely experienced that. But as far as bringing the channel itself down, I don't think so.
Good.
I hope not.
Thankfully, it's not super common.
Yeah. That's nice. Well, and I think that probably part of that goes with responsibly choosing mods in the first place. You can a lot of that you can kind of see ahead of time, and that's oftentimes I assume that would be the kind of person who's you can kind of see them vying for mod, even if they're not directly asking for it. You can see them kind of putting themselves out there explicitly for that purpose, not just putting themselves out there doing quasi mod stuff because they enjoy the channel. You get a bit of a different read there. It's as social creatures, I think.
It's so much easier to add a moderator than it is to remove a moderator. I think a lot of broadcasters really struggle because a moderator is often someone who has spent the most time on that channel and the most effort, and removing your most loyal viewer and supporter because things aren't working out anymore is really tough on broadcasters.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to screen properly in the first place and keep your mod numbers lower than you need than it is to add too many mods and then have to worry about
it's like
stress of unmodded.
Measure twice, cut once.
Exactly.
Just do it right the first time. You don't have to worry about that afterward. Well, so that makes me want to move into the probably hopefully the last subject, because I think Loco wants to get to the Q&A.
We're good with time, so
okay. I was thinking when it comes to bringing people on and managing the almost hiring and firing thing, what about literally hiring and firing when it comes to mods? Mods as employees, mods getting paid off of payroll, mods getting paid in general or compensated, getting some kind of recompense for the work that they do, having a professional mod squad or a portion of your mod team that is pro and a portion of your mod team that is volunteer. What would we be looking for? How common is this? How likely do you see it, happening in the future? What is the shape of professional mod teams?
I'll let Lucky answer this because I know she's had more experience with this.
I would say 100% it depends on size of the channel, size of the chat, and how much work the person that you're considering paying is doing, and how much that by paying them, how much that would. Well, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Not like, yeah, give them money. They run your channel. But like how much it's worth to you.
Yeah.
Like if you notice that this person is going above and beyond, they're always there. They're always, one step ahead of the game. Hey, I know that this game is coming out, so I made these things for you, or I set this up for you, or a friend of mine had a key, so I got this for you, that sort of thing. Like for me, everything that I've done on Twitch has always been sort of a natural progression. It's never been, I want to be paid as a mod. I want to be a mod for your channel. I want to be your community manager kind of thing. It's always been someone asking me or offering me things. And I think that's really important to look at when you're considering paying people, I think. It's a bit different because then you have like, it's no secret that Co pays his mods.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's based on like how much time you put into the channel. But they also have like a schedule.
Yeah. So developing like fixed times.
Jobs. It's basically
like a job. Interestingly, getting paid like a job and having to treat it like such. Yeah.
And because this is like it's still very new. It's like it's still a baby. Like there's no model for anything, and because so many different channels run so many different ways. You have to create something that's good for you, that doesn't stress you out. And if it means, hey, I'm going to pay you a set amount a month, you know, and you're going to handle all these responsibilities, it gives you some kind of sense of security knowing I'm paying them to literally do a job. And if they don't do it, you know, out the door, bye, see ya.
I like that sense of I mean, you have a faith reliability. I think when it's volunteer, and when it becomes a job, the reliability of an employee is something very different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're tethered in a different way. I would have concerns about losing the personal relationship with mods, which I think is vital given how social Twitch is itself. Losing that personal relationship, because then they begin to treat it like mere employment, at the same time as having the utter reliability that comes with paying somebody sounds like a boon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in what it would look like to manage that line.
Well, for me, it's interesting. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ramble.
Okay. For me, it's like the first time someone offered, I don't mind talking about this at all. First time someone offered to pay me for being a mod, I literally kind of broke down. I was like, wait, you want to pay me to help you? What, fucking nuts. Sorry. Like, didn't mean to let that out. Like, it was such a shock to me because I operate on like you help as many people as you possibly can in life. Like, that's why I was put on this earth. Like, I'm here to make other people's lives easier. And so when Ello was like, hey, you know, I'm going to start paying you X amount a month for what you're already doing, I was kind of shocked by it. And then as time went on and more responsibilities were put on me, it was like, well, now I'm going to pay you this much a month. I was like, okay, this is neat. I didn't know you could do this. So
I think I think for like most streamers though, like it's just not a viable thing. Like most people are trying to just either do this for fun, or they're kind of like borderline full-time, part-time, it's getting serious kind of thing. And you know, being able to pay like your mod team can be very challenging. But what I've done, and there's actually a couple other things why it's hard, because it's like, well, not everyone's putting the same amount of time, and it's like, well, you don't want to start tracking the time because then it feels like a job without being paid like a job.
Right.
So, and then some people, like, they have a job and they want to just help, like they don't want to get paid. Like I have mods that are just very much like, don't give me money, I don't want it, like I'm just here to help, like that's all I want to do. I'm like, okay, you're an angel. But what I have developed is like basically like I've created a mod wish list, and so my mods like put in like usually about 3 to 4 things on the list that they want that's like reasonably priced, and then every now and then like I'll like buy stuff for the mods, like go through the wish list and buy them each something. Or sometimes
so
like
yeah.
And sometimes I'll do like in my channel, sometimes you can cheer with like hashtag mods, and a portion of those bits will go towards the mod wishlist fund, so that the people in the chat can like directly tip the mods as well as supporting the stream. So I've done I do both of those things now, and it's worked out really well. So it's like the mods are getting like gifts versus like feeling like they're working a job, and it's not like it's a lot more manageable than just like
and
having to pay.
If you can't afford to pay your mods, I mean, just be upfront with them. Like, just say, I'm trying to survive, I'm trying to do this. One of the cooler things I've seen done, and I'm not trying to bring him up constantly, but I love Ello. He's my boy. It was his idea. He has a panel on his stream. If you go down below, and there's a link to each of the mods' individual PayPals, and he says, if they did something awesome, or you like them or you hate them or whatever. These are their PayPal links. Like,
Hate money.
yeah,
yeah, the hate
if
pay.
they hate money, so don't give it to them. So if you hate them, give it to them. But it's cool. Like, there are other ways of showing your appreciation to mods other than with them dollar bills.
Yeah, that's true. I know that on my channel we've had a couple of situations where mods have run into a terrible financial crisis in their own life, and so we've taken a day to try and promote that. They've got a GoFundMe kind of thing. And also we'll just be like, all the tips and cheer for the day, it goes to that mod. And Moblord, do you remember, I think John still does this, John Sandman, right? Doesn't he do like a once or twice a month like mod appreciation day?
Yeah,
where
where
like
basically everything that comes in for that day.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that broadcasters shouldn't feel bad that they're not able to pay mods. I think a lot of broadcasters really, really, really wish that they could pay their mods, because the mods are enabling them to do what they do. And there's some amount of guilt, I think, that a lot of broadcasters have. But ultimately, the moderators shouldn't be there just for money. In my opinion, if you're finding that you can only get people to stay if you're paying them, then that's actually a symptom of a problem, right?
Definitely.
The pay is not meant to be a way to attract people to your channel. The pay would just be, I need you to go above and beyond the normal roles of moderation.
It's the reward, not the draw.
And I need to make sure that your time that you're investing in me, that I'm able to now invest some back into you to keep this being a worthwhile relationship, and to make you feel like you're not being used, etc. So you should not, as a broadcaster, just go out and try to hire someone off the street to bring them in for your channel to do things for you. It should be more about, I'm asking them to go above and beyond, or I'm able to afford rewarding the people who've stuck with me the longest, or who do the most for me, or whatever else. And I think that I've been paid more in like Steam gifts and stuff like that than I've been paid in actual dollars, because it's just a token. Like, if I was actually charging them for what I feel like I'm worth, or my day job pays, or whatever else, they couldn't afford to have me around. It's just more of a token of appreciation. Hey, I know what you've done for me. I just want to give you what I can afford to give you, based on just my appreciation of you spending your time with me here. So I think that's good. But if you're going to have a regular role of someone who is being paid, what I would strongly encourage is some type of a contract, some type of a written down understanding between what that moderator is in charge of, and what the broadcaster expects. So oftentimes where I could see something going horribly wrong is if it's just kind of, I'm paying you so much a month, so you should be doing X, Y, and Z for me, and they just keep adding on to the pile and adding on to the pile and not paying them more. And that could easily equal a burnout situation as well. So have kind of a defined role. I mean, think of it as you're going past a volunteer into an actual job, and that job requires the expectations to be agreed upon by both sides. And so having something in writing is key, in my opinion. I think that's where a long-term mistake could form if that was never written down.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So we'll get into a Q&A, guys. If you guys want to ask any questions about modding, anything we've talked about so far today, this is your chance to ask these experienced mods and, streamers who have mod teams, any questions you guys might have about, anything that we talked about. So
Let us hear them.
for you guys. Yeah. And we'll make sure to answer them. This is a great question. How do you go about adding modding to your resume, and is it even like a smart thing to do?
I like that.
I mean, if you're applying for a job as a community manager, at a game company, it is absolutely probably one of the main things that you should focus on, right? Because it's applicable experience. But if you're just going to go work in the restaurant industry or something, they won't care. So I think it really depends on what type of career path that
Yeah.
you're on.
One of my mods used basically being like a moderator as part of their like I think college application, and so they listed me down as like a reference and everything. So it's definitely applicable.
It's
to
awesome.
to like have that experience. I mean, it's basically it's community management. Like that's what you want to put it as.
And that's a term that people will understand. Because I mean, there's obviously a culture within Twitch. We kind of just throw everything under moderation, but it is recognized that a lot of people need a community manager. All kinds of different businesses need a community manager. So yeah, I would agree that's probably a better term to use on a resume.
Next question: what do you expect from your mods, and do you pay / reward them for their time invested? So for me, I basically just comes down to being active, like contributing in some way. Most of my mods contribute via being in chat every day, talking, doing mod stuff. And then there's some back end stuff too, but that just depends on each mod. Kind of does like one of my mods definitely like does more of the bot stuff, where another one kind of organizes like the giveaways and stuff like that. So it just comes down to being around and communicating, and do I pay reward them? Yeah. So I explained like the wish list system that I have, and sometimes I'll like tip my mods too.
Was the first part of the question, what do you look for?
Yeah, or what do you expect from your mods?
What do you expect from your mods?
Nightly foot rubs. 10:30 on the dot.
Rub my bunion. He is the nickel. Level-headedness. Quality of character is always one that I'm looking for. Like, people can be super weird, but if at their heart, which is visible, it has to come out. It can't be a hidden thing, obviously. If at their heart they really know who they are, what they're about, then they need to know themselves in order to be able to make sure that they can align themselves with the stream and what the stream needs and what I need and what the community needs. And that's going to be that's always going to be really important. And that also goes hand in hand with the diplomatic element. I've got a number of mods who we, playfully, I ban them all the time, and they're sass. I mean, it's all jovial and good-hearted and good-natured, but they know when that's not the time, when it's not the time to do that, when they need to, get their game face on and actually manage the day's culture of the chat. You need to be able to read that in advance, and that can be somewhat challenging when you're not looking at individual names, when chat's flowing really quickly, but the other mods will see that. So that's something that the mods can point out, when somebody can shift gears and change direction as needed in the moment. As for compensation, I don't have anything direct at the moment. We've done stuff for the mods in the past, but for the most part, it's you need to know that we always have your back thing. Like I was saying about mods falling on hard times, we've done several things for mods who have hit sometimes light and sometimes super rough patches to allow them to get back on their feet. I mean, and of course, there's even like a self-centered, self-involved reason that you could, if you're super egotistical, that you could go that way too. It's like, well, you want them to still be around instead of have to go get 10 jobs and not ever be able to be in the stream too. But caring for your mods can take many shapes. And I think that one is very valuable in, maintaining morale, in making sure that they know that they're loved and appreciated, even if they're not getting that on the daily.
That's good. That's a pretty good answer. How do you deal with rogue mods?
Ben?
Oh.
Well, I mean, I've seen situations where accounts have been taken over, and
oh no,
a a rogue mod just starts
Two-factor.
banning everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Make your
two-factor.
mods have two-factor.
Two
In
it was
Discord
really-
and Twitch.
Absolutely.
It was really more of an issue back before we had the logging from Twitch that would show the broadcaster who was doing the timeouts, because with large event channels they often have dozens of moderators, and trying to pinpoint exactly who it was at one point became very difficult. Now thankfully Twitch will show you who is the rogue mod and what is happening there, and you can quickly unmod them or ban them, or follow up in some other way, appropriate fashion with them. But it's not as big of an issue. It was a really big issue in the esports scene and in large channel scene, because moderators are often targeted as victims of, they'll try to go to the dark web or whatever, grab your username and password if you've used commonly used username and password combinations in the past, and they, there are people who specifically target mods. And it does happen. You do need to use two-factor and protect your information.
Yeah. Question from a software maker. Do mods already have their dream software? Is there a strong need from developers to step up and make better tools for mods? What parts of the workflow are totally ignored by devs?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a great question. The problem is, and I'll just tell you that there's a really complicated answer to this, because Twitch is constantly changing. For example, at the end of the month, the legacy chat, the pop-out chat, will no longer be a thing. Twitch is constantly making changes that would be difficult to keep up with as a developer. Also, there's no such thing as an ideal dream tool. I think it's extremely customizable based on the atmosphere of the channel and what the moderator has done in the past and what they're used to. It'd have to be very customizable to fit the needs of everybody. There's not just like a single, just plug it in and that's
not a one size fits all.
Yeah. There's no one size fits all. I will say that there are certain tools that are missing. For example, short of some of these third-party solutions which are paid, there's not a great way to manage giveaways right now, especially if mods are doing the giveaways on behalf of people. Twitch messages don't work very well. It's sometimes hard to deliver giveaways and keep track of giveaways and things like that. So I'd say giveaways is a big missing thing that's needed. But as far as how the bot should work, I'll tell you another thing that's kind of necessarily and needed and not like centralized is logging, like who is banning who and why. And if you're in a channel where every permanent ban, you require your mods to give you an explanation of that permanent ban. I've seen channels that have tried to roll out policies like that, and it's too much hassle to try to track it manually. Is there maybe some automation that could happen there? I mean, we could talk more about things that would be great to have for mods. I would have a ton of ideas to keep a software dev busy, but also say there's probably not a lot of profit in it. So don't do it if you want to make money from that software.
Until everybody starts paying their mods in 10 years, then maybe.
There's not a lot of money in that side of things right now.
No.
Next question is, how upfront do you think a mod can be with the feedback to the streamer on where the stream is going, like short, mid, and long term? More specifically about the game choices of the streamer, as different games attract different audiences, and probably requires different moderation.
I feel like that should be upfront, but I think that maybe depends on. Well, I keep thinking of this in professional terms, like the management style of the broadcaster. I was thinking, but that's not how I think even probably most people treat their stream and their mods. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's going to depend on your relationship with the mods. Like, my mods, I talk to them about feedback and advice all the time. We talk about like what games we should play, how things are going. Like I don't look at my numbers, so they kind of have a better gauge of like, how certain games are performing, and how they also have a better idea of like the mood of the chat and kind of like a litmus to like, how chat's feeling. Because like as a streamer, you're reading messages all day, but you don't see everything, and you can kind of miss if people seem like unhappy or just kind of like not feeling it. So yeah, for me they definitely Like if I honestly sometimes yell at them if they don't tell me things that are wrong. Like if my overlays are messed up, I'm like, mods, like
Yeah.
look at my
I had
screen.
something
Like
in my teeth. I had something in my teeth, and you let me go the whole stream.
8 hours. It's
Yeah.
true.
So I would say unless it's an emergency, one of the main things is mods try to bring up a bunch of stuff during a stream and distract the broadcaster.
That's true too.
Unless it's an emergency, keep it between the mods, but don't actually ping the
Right.
broadcaster unless it's time critical. Because
Yeah.
the broadcaster might not want to be reminded, hey, there's no chat activity. Like they don't want to be reminded of that by anybody. If you as a mod see something like that you can address yourself, like a moderator knows when things are starting to go quiet in the chat, and going quiet is a bad thing. It's always a bad thing. So you as a mod, you can directly influence that. You don't have to bring that to the streamer's attention. You can start to hype things back up. You can start a discussion. And then other people have said, well, what about mod wall? And I think I saw a question about that. What if it's just mods talking to each other?
I think that's wonderful.
So mod wall, there's different opinions on this. The primary opinion, in my opinion, is that a mod wall can detract from natural chat activity of other new people just coming in.
I would agree.
And based on my experience and based on some limited numbers that I might have about that, if it's all just mods talking back and forth, it could be intimidating for a brand new viewer. I think, a seasoned viewer, they don't really care. In fact, they might, encourage them to talk. But for a brand new viewer, it can make things like a us four and no more type of club, which is kind of not exactly the kind of vibe that you want to go for. So I have encouraged people to sign in under alt accounts if they're mods and they're just really chatty and they're just always going off. Open a browser tab, incognito mode, sign in to an alternate account, and just chat away to your heart's content.
That is super interesting.
But without spamming the mod icon all over chat. I mean, I've encouraged it. I've done it. There has been some channels that I really wanted to chat, but I didn't want to overwhelm the channel because there was kind of a low viewer channel, and I just didn't want my icon all over the place. So log into an alt and just keep on chatting.
And the first part of this question is like, can having too many mods in it says in chat be a bad thing? But like, I kind of want to steer and be like, is having too many mods in general can be problematic too?
With this, I'd say it depends on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
For someone that sometimes streams at 4 a.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Eastern, you kind of need to have that extra amount of mods because not everyone is going to be available at all those different times. Like, it's important to have that coverage, but there is such a thing as having too many mods. Like, I've gone into some channels /mods, and it's literally 2 full scrolls of 900 different people.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you kind of run the risk of, like, if someone comes in that you modded, I don't know, a year and a half ago that doesn't really know how much your channel has changed or anything like that, you might have them banning people when that person shouldn't have been banned because that's kind of the new direction that you've taken.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. So.
And also with like transitioning from, as we were talking about before, like a PG-13 stream to, an R-rated stream, the culture and behavior in the stream may have changed. I think a lot of that may boil. I'm pretty much on board. The way that we have some of that stuff working is in Discord with the pinned messages, as I noted briefly. Among the things in there is a living document, a changing, I wouldn't say constantly, but an often changing document about the expectations for the mods, what we need them to be doing, what they think they need to be doing. There's a lot of feedback, a lot of back and forth there. And if that is updated and current, and the mods that you have, even from a while back, who may not have been in there for a while, know that was a thing, that continues to be a thing, and can check in on that, I wouldn't see an issue inherently. But I don't think a lot of people do that. So I think if you have a large pool of mods, some of them you might not even notice that they aren't showing up as often. Like maybe 3-4 months down the road, you're like, oh, I haven't seen so and so in quite a while. But they kind of fall in with the rest of viewership, where you're not able to keep up with the 300 different names that show up in your channel throughout the week. You know, it can be problematic.
Yeah. I mean, you always want to be able to keep tabs on your mods and like notice when people are gone, or like even like going through your /mods in your chat and looking through the list and be like, I do that sometimes. Like, oh, I modded that dev from that game a long time ago, and that one, and like, it's nice to just like, you know, clean that up just for security reasons and
yeah,
mostly. Next question is, let's see. How do you screen content created for your streams? Do you view and sign off on anything you don't make yourself, or do you entrust it to your mods completely?
I think that it would be foolish to just allow everything that the mods to create to go out representing you, on your social media or anything else. So having that mod chat, hopefully that's one of the things that you're doing, is you're reviewing the ideas and approving the ones that are good and shooting down the ones that don't represent your vision of the channel. So I think you have to get to a very special place, and you have to be basically a longtime friend and CM for somebody before they just allow you to put things out there in their behalf without their say so. Like that's a special sort of reserved place that few people get to, right?
I'm surprised Elo trusts me with his alerts. He never knows what they're going to be.
Like, I'm surprised you trust him.
That's why I came to do his alerts. I'm like, I'm really sick of seeing these Game of Thrones alerts for your subs. I want to do them. Just let me do them. Thank you. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay, thank you. Because, I mean, he hates doing that kind of thing. So it was something that I get enjoyment out of, because he never knows when he's going to be scared. And it's one more thing that's kind of off his plate.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely some things that for, my mod team that they can handle completely by themselves, and it's because they're trusted. For me, that's like doing like highlights and exporting it to YouTube and putting it up on YouTube. That's kind of pretty much done without me like examining each time they do that. We kind of have like a system. Sometimes they'll poke me and be like, do you want this highlighted or not? And I'll be like, okay. Also like running giveaways, or just like keeping track of like the bot related stuff. So setting up timed commands or editing commands, running giveaways, any of that kind of stuff. They pretty much do on their own. And that just comes down to they're all experienced. I trust them all. And it's just like something that I can't micromanage. Like, it's not a smart use of my time to micromanage those type of things when they have shown that they can be trusted and do them themselves.
This is another case for me where having a broadcast manager who does, again, just literally 50% of what happens in the stream is a giant boon. Is the mods, anything that they might question, that they might be concerned about, they get to bring to him, and I still get to focus on the stream or whatever it is that's vital to me. And he and I, anything that he does, good to go. He'll change things on the fly. He'll be posting announcements that I don't even know about. He's ahead of it before I'm even on board, for good reason. He and I are in perfect sync, and that makes it a lot easier for that stuff to happen. They can bring it to him in a worst case scenario instead of having to come to me, or if they can't reach him or he needs to come to me, then we can do that. That can be fluid.
I do think it's good to encourage an environment of allowing mods to come with their ideas and suggestions.
Definitely.
Because sometimes what happens is you get these inside jokes that start forming, these memes around your channel, and sometimes they might even be slightly embarrassing for the broadcaster themselves. But what a mod can do is they can take a trend that they're noticing that's got potential to potentially maybe go viral or whatever else, and they can develop and work that up and get it to a point where they ask the broadcaster, hey, is this okay to put out? Yes, no, like, are you going to kill me, kind of thing. And I've seen those be really successful, GIFs or a certain clip, that just takes off. It has a life of its own. after that point. So you should encourage your mods. You shouldn't scare them from presenting that kind of content.
A creative collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they might notice these things before you do.
Next question is, are there any not so obvious no-nos for mods? Things they shouldn't do or say?
Don't break the channel rules.
Well, yeah.
That's
a good
number
start.
one. Like, you would think that that's common sense.
It's not.
No, not at all.
You aren't an exception because you're a mod.
Exactly.
I think it's important framing.
I am the law.
Yeah.
I am. We actually had a mod who, at one point, trying to think of how to word this. They came from a different type of community, but they were a regular on a channel. And so we were like, yeah, let's give them a shot. They're always here. They seem to kind of get the like trolling nature of things. But then once they got that mod, the trolling just went through the roof, and it turned into like, they started saying things that were like things that we would normally time out. And they thought that because they had the mod sword, they were safe. It was like, no, dude, you can't do that. You got to set the example. Yeah, trolling is fine to an extent, but I mean, you are the person that's supposed to keep these other people in line and draw them back when they cross that line that you just crossed. You can't do that.
That is
I had a
absolutely
really
true.
good.
Challenging to
Do you
manage
have
some-
one,
Me?
Hunter? Yeah. Did you have
Nope.
a? Wait, I just had it and I just forgot it. Oh,
No.
Don't get in fights with viewers. Like, that's a big no. Don't be the start of drama in chat. And even like in private, like, don't, like, you gotta keep your cool, even if it's a regular or a new viewer or just someone that's like trying to get a rise out of you. You gotta keep your cool as a mod. Like, you can't be the center of drama in a channel.
We were talking about this before, right? Extracting yourself from the situation as needed.
Mm-hmm.
And take it to whispers
stepping
if
away.
you need to. Like, if someone isn't, before you lose your cool with someone, take a step back and then like maybe hand it off to another mod, just saying, look, I can't handle this guy right now. Like, I'm about to like tell him to go play in traffic, kind of like bad stuff.
And you have to realize too that sometimes they're just frustrated at things in general or mods in general. Try not to take everything so personal. Try not to view everything as a personal attack. Try not to have your ego wrapped up in the role of moderator so much that someone says one thing about, man, the mods here are so strict, and then mods just reinforce that by going even more strict, right? So try to step back from it and realize that maybe they're upset at the role, not you necessarily. Try to like we were saying earlier, de-escalate, not escalate the situation. At the end of the day, you can time them out or ban them. You do have that power, but it's up to the situation whether or not you should be starting with throwing your power around. Probably not.
Next question is, it was said a good mod candidate is someone who essentially does mod things already, such as being in chat, answering questions, etc., but there is also a negative view towards the non-mods trying to enforce / help understand the community rules. What are your views on this? Is backseat modding acceptable to show enthusiasm, or would you expect your mod to shut that person down?
I would say not overtly.
It's a good question.
There's a line between, like, being facilitating the chat and being helpful and answering questions, and then being like, mods, do this, like, or can you ban this person? Mods. Like, there's definitely a backseat modding versus like being an outstanding member of the community. There's a line.
It can be really annoying to mods to have someone who said, oh, look at that from 3 minutes ago. It hasn't been timed out yet, kind of thing. And like, what are your mods all asleep? That can be really annoying to do. So try not to be that guy. I mean, sometimes a gentle whisper works a lot better than just calling out the mods. Because if you rub the mods the wrong way, you're probably not going to become a mod yourself. Probably not going to happen.
You've gotten on the list, buddy.
Yeah.
I actually had an experience with this, I think like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I don't know. My days are like unit days.
Yeah.
but an ex-mod came into a chat, and instead of like just kind of letting us do our thing and, you know, just what we normally do, it was, they were always like, the second that somebody asked something, they were popping the command in chat. The second that someone else asked something, they were, you know, oh, you can do this. Oh, this and this. Oh, you know, someone asked, has this broadcaster played Life is Strange? Oh, yes. And here's the link to the VOD and blah, blah, blah. And then a few seconds later, they'd say, you know, I should really stop doing this. You know, Lucky gets paid to do it. And it's like, you know, you're doing it just fine. So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you do it and make it look like you're just talking to yourself in chat. Like, you kind of got to get a good balance of how things are. I don't know. It was annoying to me, but I knew to remove myself from the situation enough to just let them have their moment. And they're usually not like that in chat. Like, usually they're just chill and trolly and cool and whatnot.
Sometimes you have that
Maybe
day,
they were
right?
drinking. Yeah. I don't know.
Or had a weird day at work and you needed to feel a little bit of tension and power for a second.
Yeah, and so it was just like, you know, I'm fine. You know, you do you, boo boo.
Yeah,
it gets annoying, but I mean, it's not as annoying as other people trying to come in under 3 different names, spamming personal information of the streamer. Like, on the scale of what's worse in mod world, backseat modder is like way low on the list.
Right, and just have your mods, like, if they feel like if they have to compete with the viewers to do commands, or like they feel like someone's a little bit too much, like, just like, that's when you go to whispers or DMs with that person and be like, hey, like, I appreciate you helping, but, you know, can you tone it back just a little bit, because, like, you know, like, you're just trying to do things before me at this point, you know, and it's being too much. So just have your mods, like, you know, ask them to tone it down if you feel like that they're crossing the line. And just like, as someone that wants to help and wants to show that you're interested in helping, you know, there's definitely, like, you can just, you know, saying hi to people and engaging in chat, and answering questions without, like, you know, just like being like too robotic about it is totally fine. We only have a few minutes left, guys, so we're gonna try to rapid fire these last few questions here, before we're done for the day. So next question is, how does a streamer prevent overworking individual mods? Setting a schedule or something else? Getting more mods. Help.
But not too many.
Not too
More
many,
mods,
but
but
like,
not too many. You actually don't need that many mods. This is a really common misconception. I just want to address it real quick. You do not need thousands of mods, even if you have thousands of viewers. I've seen a single person or 2 people as a team handle some of the largest chats you've ever seen on Twitch, period. So it's a bit of a misnomer that you need to have a bunch of, all you really need is a couple of mods to be there at all times during your stream. That's the one. You really don't need, people err on the side of adding too many mods. I'll just say that.
Any tips or ideas you have for incentives for mod attendance besides paying them? Doing games with them, like having like a game night.
Just hanging out with them on Discord is a reward by itself. Because oftentimes the person got involved in the first place because they wanted to be more helpful to a specific broadcaster, and spending extra time with that broadcaster is a reward.
Lucky, I think you were going to say something?
Just thanking them. And, you know, and just remember, mods are usually your number 1 fans. Like, just appreciate them. Even not, you don't have to give them anything other than just a little bit of attention. Just tease them with it. Show them a little bit of ankle.
keep them coming. Keep them along.
Reel them in.
I mean, there's also just, like, you know, like, letting them play games with you, like, you know, maybe not on stream all the time because they're obviously are there to mod, but, you know, like, you know, playing games off stream with them, talking with them off stream, like sharing a little bit about your life without, you know, obviously stepping your own privacy boundaries, but, you know, like, just like feeling like you're friends with them and trying to be friends with them. Like, you know, that's kind of like, it's like they kind of have like a special relationship with you. Like, you know, they do become your friends, you know, if you treat them right and have a good team. So yeah, I mean that's what I would say.
And the mod panel below the stream, I mean, that's a huge incentive to show up, because if you're in chat and you're doing awesome and you're like the only one that's there, and he happens to mention that mod panel with, you know, a link to your PayPal down there, you're going to have someone in chat going, you know, they're really busting their balls to make sure that this is a cool place to hang out. You know, I'm going to go throw them $5. I'm going to throw them $20. Like, I've been humble brag. Like I got tipped $100 one night just because I was kind of all over the place helping people. It's like,
That's awesome.
but don't
Yeah.
expect it. If you're a mod, don't expect it. Like, don't be like, well, I'm doing an amazing job, so you guys should give me like $2 each, and then I can go buy my new shoes, like kind of stuff. Don't be
Like
that.
the same thing for broadcasters, right? It's going to fit in the same category of like, do your best, and the things that follow, you get to be like, yay. But if they don't show up, you don't get to be like, now listen here.
Next question is, how do you deal with a mod that constantly makes negative comments about the games you're playing and the music you're listening to in chat?
Well, I've
Somebody
got this
talking
one.
about A Greens directly.
I've got this one. If you're if you're not a fan of the channel, why are you there? I mean, it's pretty easy that if a mod was not supportive of the broadcaster, they really have no use to the broadcaster. There's a big difference between. I mean, at least on mod them or consider it if this is a
Make them
long-term
an example.
thing.
I sometimes put my mods in timeout. They're misbehaving too much. Like maybe not being like negative, but they're like, you know, just like giving me a harder time, or like, you know, I'll just be like, all right, we're gonna make an example. You're gonna ban you for 10 minutes.
The channel ultimately is the reflection of the broadcaster.
Yeah.
You're there to support the broadcaster. If you cannot handle what the broadcaster is doing, you, as a mod, should remove yourself from the situation, either for that day because you can't handle the game or something, or permanently. It's really, you shouldn't necessarily just be pooping on the streamer in the chat of the streamer. That is a horrible thing that nobody should be doing. If you need to say something that's negative, do it privately, and preferably after the stream is over. Do not interrupt a stream to interject your opinion about what that streamer should be playing or doing.
I think that relationship advice totally applies here. Be communicative as the broadcaster. Having hidden expectations does nobody any good. And that comes along with you know, like knowing whether or not it's in jest. Like I mentioned A Greens. We have a relationship, and he has a relationship with chat where he's gonna ride me for a little bit about a certain game, but not seriously. You know, not actually, for the most part, bring it down. And if he does cross the line, maybe mention it in the moment. And I think this is pretty universal recommendation. In the moment, you'd be like, but then talk to them after the broadcast, and not berating. Be you know, just like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that's a thing that really like affects me in the moment. Like, is there a different way that we can do this? Like, were you serious? Or like, what do you need out of this? Was I doing something that threw you off? You know, find those common values and communicate about them.
I mean, I might have actually said before to a streamer, I know that you're planning on playing League today. I can't handle the League audience.
Sure.
I don't know anything about the game to answer any questions. I might not be there that day, but that's just me. I'm just removing myself from the situation in advance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say too. Is like, as a moderator, especially if you're a volunteer moderator, you should not be expected to be in the chat all day, every day, for every single stream, no matter what. Like, this is not supposed to be torture. So, you know, if you don't like a game, and like, you know, there's like, let's say in the mod chat, it's been established that, you know, there's going to be chat coverage. Be like, I don't like enjoy this game. I'm going to take a break. Like, you know, that also helps with burnout too, is like, you know, not feel like you have to be there all the time to mod. You're not forced to be there. Like, you know, take a break every now and then and go play a game every now and then, as long as like you communicated that.
What you don't like to see as a mod is occasionally, if you've ever seen, you know, broadcasters call out their team of mods how nobody was there, and they do it on Twitter or whatever else. No mods showed up to my channel today. That stuff hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts to see. It's okay when nobody shows up, but people who don't show up should get replaced, and they should understand that that's why they're
Right.
being replaced.
Sure.
Okay, so this is gonna be our last question. Is there anything you could recommend to improve your own performance as an experienced mod? And if you guys have any educational resources that you'd like to link, you can feel free to do that as well. Well, I'll start by plugging StreamerSquare because there's a couple of great articles on the website about moderation, even being like a community manager and stuff like that. So that's a good place to start. Just saying, StreamerSquare.com.
What's the link?
I can try to find you links to the specific articles, but
I was just thinking of the site in general.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Shep. But yeah, there's definitely some content on there.
There we go. Boom.
What a great mod.
He's definitely one of my top mods. Just saying.
I just put a link in chat for the Moderation Station, which is a group of hundreds and hundreds of quality mods of all different levels, who often share, not just the memes and the battle stories and the things like that, but there's also call outs for volunteers, for people to volunteer in event streams. And if you've never modded for an event stream, you should. If you want to increase your knowledge about moderation, you should consider doing it. It's a different type of thing, and you shouldn't just jump into it without somebody kind of coaching you a bit. But there will be opportunities in that Discord for you to do that. There's some extremely qualified people who run the top level ESL and Overwatch leagues and things like that, the top levels of moderation, that will be more than happy to answer questions, provide resources, things of that nature. That is run primarily by Dr. Wiggles, who is a great moderator friend of mine. It was actually started by the late Brian Izzle originally. Just like to shout out him real quick. Unfortunately passed away here recently. Yeah. But left behind this Discord is kind of a little bit of a legacy, I guess, because
it's awesome.
It was his idea in the first place. I've helped with it, and others have too. But it was originally his vision to bring kind of a professional community of moderators together, kind of like a social network, so to speak. And so I would highly recommend that if you're a mod wanting to increase your skills, that you check that out and read the things that are in there regularly and keep up with it. I think that's a great place to start.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that existed. So my mods will probably be pouring in there as we speak.
They might already be in there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long list. You might have already been talked about even. Who knows?
Watching you mods. Kidding. You guys have any other resources that you feel would be helpful?
There's not been a ton of great articles written about it. There's a lot of books and self-help things about starting broadcasting, but there hasn't been as many resources for moderators. There have been a few. There's a few that I can think of that came through the Reddit subreddit. The Twitch subreddit has had a few good guides for starting moderators. I don't have any links right now, but yeah, there's not maybe as many resources as I would like.
Also panels. There have been some panels at the previous TwitchCons about moderation as well. I think so on StreamerSquare we do try to annotate the panels. We are not finished with 2017 TwitchCon, but if there were some moderation panels, which I believe there were in the previous years, we do have not only the panels, the VODs of the panels, but also notes from those panels. So again, like definitely take a look through the website if you want to do some reading or some watch some panels. But other than that, guys, that is going to do it for us. So we're going to do our social media shout outs and conclude the show. Moblord, Lucky, thank you guys, first of all. Thank you guys for a fantastic episode. You guys
have been fantastic. Great. Super informative.
So tell us where we can find you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Been happy to be here. I would love to be involved with creating more resources for moderators in the future. If I can ever find the time, I'd love to create some more. Lucky and I were both on a panel at TwitchCon. You were mentioning about TwitchCon sessions, we are actually on a panel together. I put the link there in chat. So if you're wanting to watch another panel about moderators that Lucky and I are both on, you can watch that. Yeah, otherwise, catch me on Twitter, and I look forward to answering any questions. If you want to ping me with those directly, my DMs are always open, so are my whispers.
Awesome.
Don't ever talk to me. I hate you all. I'm kidding. Thank you very much for having me. It always kind of surprises me when people approach me about this sort of thing, because I've just done it for a while, and so it's just like, it's nothing special, but it is, because you're helping people and it's cool. Anyway, I'm LuckyMisfit. I'm on Twitch and Twitter and all the things is LuckyMisfit. And my whispers and DMs are always open, and I love you all, and you're fantastic. And be good mods.
Hunter?
You can find me at twitch.tv/thehunterwild, streaming variety stuff, year round, day round, week round, all around stuff. On Twitter at the Hunter Wild TV. It's got the TV at the end. TV, the Hunter Wild TV.
Sweet. And I'm Loco. You can find me at twitch.tv/Loco, twitter.com/Loco2525. And last but not least, definitely check out StreamerSquare.com if you haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our YouTube. We've got a ton of content on there as well, even beyond like what's on Twitch. So definitely make sure to check that out. And follow us on Twitter. If you guys want to know our future episodes of the Stream Scene, which is every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also have other video content here as well with some more stuff in the works. So definitely want to give the Twitch a follow if you guys like this kind of stuff. And we really do appreciate it. Hearing your guys' feedback. So thank you guys so much for being here and having a fantastic conversation with us about moderation. I hope you guys learned something new. I did. So, it's been a solid episode. So thank you guys again.
Fantastic show. Yeah, thanks again for being on. And thanks for being here.
Of course.
So we'll be back next Monday, guys. I was waiting for it, but I didn't know, so I was like,
I forgot I was muted. So I said thank you, and then I unmuted. I was like, thank you.
Thank you guys for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your week, guys, and we'll see you guys next week with the Stream Scene.
That was good.